Hey there, it's Alexander Craig, astrologer and intuitive. Today we're going to be talking about the astrology of the full moon in Gemini, the astrology of the full moon as well, how it might impact your sign or show up in your astrology chart. And we'll also be talking about the astrology of Mars retrograde and talking about how that might kind of fall into your chart as well. So if you've been feeling some kind of major shifts in the sky, let's go ahead and let's start talking about it. If you listened before, welcome back. Whether you're listening, whether you're watching on my YouTube channel or listening to the audio version of the podcast, welcome. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe if you like what you see, and make sure that maybe you click that notification bell on so you don't miss an update. Really quick before I get started, I'm doing 15% off 1 hour spirit readings. Essentially, they're psychic medium readings, or 15% off my astrology sessions all month, and those are available as gift certificates. You can schedule those at a later date, or gift those to someone that you love or despise. I'm not really sure how you roll with that, but. And that is going to be available if you head to my Instagram, it'll be on there. That'll be under Dogstar Oracle is my name on Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere else. Or you can go to dogstaroracle.com and go to buy your gift certificate. If you have any questions about that, make sure you could either DM me on Instagram or email me. So let's go ahead and let's start talking about this astrology. So let's actually start talking about Mars retrograde first, because these guys are really interesting, right? We have Mercury going direct with this full moon. Mercury has been retrograde for the past few weeks since essentially it was like a day or two before Thanksgiving is when it went retrograde, and we had Mars slowing down at the same time. So Mars is the planet of action. It rules sort of our passions, our motivation, and our drive. It also is the planet of anger as well, and war and separation and cutting. Mars has actually been retrograde since December 6th. So it's been retrograde for about a week already. So you may have noticed, especially if you have a lot of Leo in your chart, a lot of Cancer, or perhaps your Aries or Scorpio rising, Mars would be a ruling planet if you're Aries or Scorpio rising, or if you have a lot of Leo and Cancer, you may have felt this energy as well. And and you could also be feeling it even if you don't have these particular energies, say in your chart, because we are going to kind of feel it on this collective level. Mars slowing down in the sky and reversing course is this sort of sign that we might need to slow down, that we need to take a chill pill, that we need to sort of like reverse course somewhat, or kind of reevaluate why it is we do certain things, why we chase after these goals, why we do the things that we do. Mars, it might also be that you might be feeling the opposite, that you might be feeling that it's time to rock and roll. Like, I've never felt like more ready to go. For most of us, I'm going to say it's probably like this more cosmic chill pill energy. At the same time, Mars going retrograde is going to offer a significant focus on a certain area of your life. For right now, that's going to be whatever life area or house Leo rules for you. We all have Leo in our chart somewhere, even if you don't have any planets or points that you know of in Leo. It still rules over a certain kind of section of your natal chart. For me, Leo is my 10th house. That is career. That's my career goals and ambition. That's my relationship with authority figures, and how I'm sort of known to the public. So I'm definitely kind of feeling like, hey, why is it that I'm doing certain things in my career? Is it time to kind of look at some different options? And I've kind of just had to take a breath and be like, yeah, I'm just going to like relax for now. I can sort of sense that I'm going to have some new goals, and that this Mars retrograde is really kind of redirect and realign me, essentially, kind of to what I might want to do next, essentially. So this is an opportunity for this sort of super concentration energy on the Leo part of our charts, and then it will actually go into Cancer about January 7th. and it's going to be in Cancer until April. So because Mars will go retrograde, I think it gets all the way to 17 degrees of Cancer, and then it's going to go direct again, and so it has to cover back all of that ground. So the Leo and the Cancer part of our charts are really going to have a lot of focus. For right now, we're going to talk about the Leo part, and we will talk about that when we do forecasts for each of the signs. So that's happening in the sky right now. Let's talk about that full moon in Gemini. Okay, so the full moon in Gemini, and that comes through about really, really early Sunday morning, like 12:15 in the morning if you're in Denver, Colorado. So adjust that for your time zone, kind of wherever you are in the world. Mercury, the planet of communication and messages and information, it rules the sign of Gemini. It has been retrograde since about Thanksgiving. It will be going direct essentially a few hours later. So essentially during the full moon, Mercury is stationing direct. So that's really kind of like the most important thing going on during this full moon. So, we've had a very kind of retrograde several days, again, beginning around Thanksgiving. This has been kind of a messy time in the sky, particularly felt by the immutable signs. So Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Gemini. So, if you're any of these signs, again, Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, rising sun, moon, or you have a lot of that going on in your chart, or it rules maybe an important angle for you, like your descendant, your IC, your midheaven, or your ascendant, you might really be feeling, you may have really been feeling kind of this big like life reevaluation, this sort of life messiness, this sort of life realignment. Just because there's so much going on with these signs over the past several days. So Mercury, essentially during this full moon, when Mercury goes direct, it doesn't just shoot forward in the sky right away. It really kind of slows down for a minute. It's like slow down, and then it begins to change course. So Mercury going direct is really like this big exclamation point. And I think it does really, Mercury going direct, I think does bring this sort of glimmer of clarity to some area in your life, this kind of aha moment, this bit of important information that you stumble on, maybe having an important conversation with someone, especially just because this is the full moon in Gemini, the sign of communication, of correspondence, of logistics, of like your to-do list. It's a very mental, intellectual, heady kind of focused energy, a very, very busy mental energy as well. So this full moon coming through is when things may kind of come to a head. Full moons illuminate, they shine a spotlight on something, they bring something to fulfillment or conclusion or completion. I'm not sure if I get necessarily a conclusion completion thing with this full moon, because it's sort of suggesting with Mercury just going direct during this full moon, like there is this aha moment, this exclamation point, this clarity. But like at the same time, Mercury is now beginning to do its forward movement, covering all of its tracks that it reversed through when it was retrograde. So it's kind of like we're going to be re-looking at things or seeing things in a different light over the next several days. But this full moon in Gemini can sort of give us some new information or a new perspective. So again, this full moon is likely to feel like a very sort of busy time for all of us. And again, Gemini does sort of indicate a heavy focus, again, on the correspondence, communication, travel, logistics, making lists, and just kind of getting things figured out. It's sort of like with this full moon, it's sort of like, I kind of know where I'm going. I kind of know where I stand now. If there's been a lot of kind of confusion or fogginess or murkiness, it's like we have a much better sense of sort of where we're headed. However, I don't think that we get complete clarity with this full moon. I think we get some clarity and a lot of new information coming in, but I do feel like that it is likely that there is still to be some vagueness or maybe some lingering, confusing energy around this full moon. And that is because this full moon is going to be making a square aspect to Neptune. Neptune is this planet of like oneness and spirituality and like the higher realms. But a hard Mercury Neptune hard aspects, Moon Neptune hard aspects in this case can really kind of bring a sense of confusion, frankly. Like, this is maybe bringing a sense of like, which way do I go? Am I seeing the whole picture? I'm feeling something right now, but I'm not sure exactly what it means. It's like I have this message, but I only have it partially decoded, Um, or I'm not sure about the whole thing. I'm going to say it's okay if you don't have everything figured out under this full moon, or if this full moon just feels a little vague or messy still. Like, it's okay to exist in this sort of space where we may not have all the information. It's kind of what I'm getting from this full moon. I am going to say it's really important under this full moon energy. If you are going to have an important conversation with someone, if you have to make plans right now, if you're making some important decision, you need to be as clear as possible in your communication so there's no way someone can misinterpret what you're saying, right? Like, have someone look at the message that you're going to send someone. Don't leave any room for vagueness. You want to make sure that you have a lot of specific, a lot of specificity and information that you are transmitting right now. Same with information. Let's say that you're, again, having to that you have to make some important decision or something. Just try to make sure that you have all of the information. In general, in your life, if you're feeling, especially if you have a lot of Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini energy in your chart, if you're feeling like life is busy, there's a lot kind of coming in, but I'm not sure exactly where I'm going still. I have some idea. It is okay that that energy is going to be separating and kind of dissolving. And also to surrender to the universe a little bit, to have some faith that, that you're going to be aligned on sort of this sort of right path, right? So let's talk about, let's do readings for each of the signs now. So if this is best read for your rising sign, so if you have your birth time, and I really feel when you are looking for birth time in astrology, accuracy is very important. I wouldn't just rely on a generalized memory from a parent that was actively giving birth to you, because likely sometimes they don't remember correctly. You're going to want to back that up with like a birth document or birth certificate or baby book or like a bracelet from the hospital or something like that. But if that's all you have to go off, that's totally fine. And then you can calculate that on the internet. I use astro-seek.com or astro.com, but you can use their ascendant calculators wherever. If you don't know your rising sign, if you don't have any semblance if you don't know when you were born, I would listen to your sun or your moon. Depending on kind of what resonates more for you. So we're going to talk about full moon horoscopes as well as Mars retrograde. So let's go ahead and get into that, starting with Aries. Okay, so if you're watching on YouTube, I obviously have the screen pulled up. I like a visual aid of the astrological wheel, so you can kind of see where and why things are happening. If you're listening on the audio, it doesn't matter that much, but I think it's cool to look at it. Aries rising, let's see what we got going on for you. So we have the full moon in Gemini is landing in your third house. So this is a very kind of classical kind of Gemini energy for you. Something coming to a head, some sort of illumination, relating any kind of important conversations or correspondences, anything with your commute or transportation or how you get around, like your local community or your city could have something to do with like car or means of transportation. There also could be some news around siblings as well, because third house like represents siblings. It could also be that maybe there's just like some focus or emphasis on like learning something or taking in some sort of new important information, perhaps like even completing some sort of certification or class. With Mercury going direct at this time, it is going direct in your ninth house. There might have been some additional sort of emphasis on, because Mercury has been retrograde in your ninth house of your beliefs, your spirituality, long distance travel and faraway places, maybe even like publishing and media. There's some sort of emphasis, some sort of themes being maybe connected here as well. Maybe connecting the topics of your third and ninth houses that I just talked about. You also have Mars retrograde. Mars has been retrograde in your fifth house for a little while now. So, um, this kind of slowing down process, this sort of cosmic chill pill, this sort of reevaluation of maybe your passions, your creativity, your creative projects. Maybe you are wanting to sort of slow down in a burgeoning like love, romantic, sexual relationship right now too. It could also be matters around children or pregnancy. Perhaps like, there's been plans to have a child and maybe you're like not sure now, or maybe you're slowing down, or perhaps it's about a child in your life, just kind of switching up how you sort of have to do things with them. Um, and Mars will switch into Cancer again in January, and that's going to slide into your fourth house of home and family. That's kind of giving home renovation vibes, changing something around home, around family. That's going to be where a lot of the focus is. But for right now, it's going to be on this creativity, on this romance, on this spark, kind of like rethinking things there. For Taurus rising, Gemini, this full moon might be around maybe some financial decisions, something around your streams of income, your paycheck, perhaps saving money, putting some things away, perhaps having to make some kind of purchase. Or taking in some sort of information on like, again, that has to do with your spending and your money, essentially, is sort of what I'm feeling like it is kind of coming through this full moon for you. Again, this full moon is a little bit hazy. So if you have to sort of make some big purchase, I might like try to wait a few days, to be honest with you. Just because it's possible that you're just maybe not seeing all of the information that you need to under this full moon. Your stuff around like loans, credit, debts, taxes, investments, shared finances, inheritance, these sort of matters have maybe been under review for you because Mercury has been retrograde in your eighth house, which often has to do with like shared financial stuff. It is possible also that you're that it is a more going under the surface, like looking at sort of buried emotional stuff with Mercury and Sagittarius here too. However, for you, it's probably most likely that there's some financial stuff that you're just maybe making some sense of during this full moon. Mars is retrograde in Leo, and remember it went retrograde last week. It is retrograde right now in your fourth house of home and family. So maybe there's something going on with home or residence. If you're wanting to sort of change stuff about that, or maybe you're just sort of feeling a need to like pull back into your home and like kind of not really super engaged with the outside world right now. Or perhaps just stuff around like where you live is maybe under review of some kind. Mars is going to go into Cancer later on in January, and that's going to go more into your communication sector, short-term travel, learning something. That part of your chart. Mars is going to be really hyper-focused in. But for right now, topics around home, living space, and family is going to be where you're feeling that Mars retrograde action. For Gemini, this full moon really, it's all about you with this full moon in Gemini. Perhaps that you are sort of, maybe even sort of, I'm feeling like maybe you have been really sort of deeply reconsidering your relationships and your partnerships as of late. Like romantic, your business partnerships, your general kind of collaborative efforts. As well as just people, that you are in one-on-one relationship space with. That has been some kind of focal point for you with Mercury retrograde here. With this full moon in Gemini, this is a good time to kind of release something to like cut cords, to release something, to say goodbye to something if you want. It could also just be time where you just simply have a lot going on. You have a lot of decisions to make. There's just a lot for you to think about like under this full moon, and it's sort of like you're sort of in the spotlight right now. There could be something connected to your physical identity, your appearance, even physical body and vitality stuff, because this full moon landing in your first house, the first house does concern vitality and physical body. But it's likely that there's just a little bit of extra busy energy around you, a little bit of extra, maybe a little bit of dramatic energy under this full moon. And just, kind of getting like the sense of realigning a lot of different parts of your life, like really kind of rethinking and getting some stuff figured out under this full moon. Again, like I was saying in the general forecast, there's going to be, you're not going to have everything figured out under this full moon, especially with career, possibly. Because this full moon is squaring Neptune. Neptune is kind of this, and under this full moon, it's kind of giving this hazy, vague, maybe even confusing energy. So it's like having some of the information, but maybe not the complete picture. So just know that is still kind of lingering there, and again, to kind of surrender and give something up to the universe under this full moon. So Mars is retrograde for you in your third house. This is things having to do with correspondences, communication. Mars being in your third house retrograde, I really kind of want you to consider if you've been sort of like keeping some things to yourself because it might hurt someone's feelings. Because Mars in your third, it's sort of giving some sharp-tongued energy right now. The need to communicate with passion and ferocity, the need to take in a lot of information. Mars brings heat and passion to where it is sort of to where it is sort of going through your chart. So there's a lot of activity around learning things, correspondence, communication, maybe some short-term travel stuff. Just sort of your daily life. There's just maybe a busier kind of feel to it. Mars retrograde here is sort of saying, okay, let's slow down a little bit, but also pay attention to your communications and notice if you are burying yourself or not speaking your full truth right now, essentially. It's sort of what I'm getting for you. So that's going to be in your third house. And also there could even be some stuff like around siblings possibly too that come up during this Mars retrograde for you. Again, in January, it's going to go back into your second house where Mars is, I think you're really going to be focusing on building some financial security or getting finances figured out for those few months when it goes into Cancer. So let's look at Cancer rising. So Cancer rising, this full moon for you, let's actually start with Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde is in your second house of money right now. So maybe having to slow down and kind of rethink how you spend money, how you save, how you invest, where your money's coming from, that kind of thing. There is some sort of Mars is sort of pulling focus here, and you're really kind of looking at money things differently. I will say right now looks like a pretty decent time to maybe look at loans, refinancing, credit, investment stuff, because Venus, the planet of kind of like attraction and ease, is moving through your eighth house of those shared financial collaborations. So it could be a decent time to maybe be looking at that stuff. Mars is going to go into Cancer, which is your sign, obviously, in January, and it's going to be spending a lot of time in your first house. So you're really going to be, there's this feeling I'm getting for you about like financial independence, and then also really working on, with Mars and Cancer, direct action, expressing anger in a healthy way, getting it out directly. And just, Mars, the planet of heat and passion, is going to be in your sign. So if there are things if there's anger and emotions that you've sort of stuffed down for a long time, Mars is going to be like, well, it's time to release those, and it does suggest just kind of this busier energy. I would also really want you to be taking care of your physical health and vitality, and just really taking care of your physical body, as Mars can sort of promote inflammation. So that's like you're going to want to make sure that you're getting exercise, that you're taking care of yourself when Mars goes into Cancer in January. As far as this full moon goes for you, this full moon falls in your 12th house. This is a more under the surface full moon. It's like, I kind of want to pop open the hood and sort of look what's going on in there. This is sort of, thoughts that you're not really particularly aware of, like looking at your sort of unconscious thought patterns. Maybe this is kind of giving like, I'm journaling my thoughts and feelings down privately, because your 12th house, that really hidden house in your chart, is ruled by Gemini. That's that's kind of indicating really busy mind, and sort of processing things in isolation or having some alone time, but processing it with words and thoughts. So that's kind of what it's giving to me. This full moon could just be like revealing some sort of hidden things to you. Um, I would also maybe wonder if this is a time when your dreams are really active. Um, I'm going to say that you've been reevaluating or getting some things figured out at work, figuring out how you work, your work routines, you figuring out health or how you take care of yourself, as Mercury has been retrograde in your sixth house of home and work, or excuse me, the sixth house of health and work. So this full moon is tied into that because that is going direct there. So there's been some miscommunications, mishaps, trying to get things figured out with work and with health stuff, should start beginning to flow, or you're going to get more clarity in that part of your chart. Leo rising. Let's start with Mars retrograde. So Mars is retrograde in your sign. This is maybe a time of wanting to sort of slow down, to take that sort of cosmic chill pill. For some of you, it might be like, I cannot slow down. I have so much going on, like this sort of flurry of action of this hyper-focused sort of state. Mars is that planet of heat and passion, is going to be in your first house of self, identity, of physical body until January. So hold on till then. It's like I kind of get the feeling of like I wonder if some of you may be approaching burnout. I'm going to say too. So you really kind of watch how many plates you have spinning in the air right now. And if possible, if you can, to try to take your foot off the gas pedal, that you don't need to do everything. So that's kind of where you're at with that Mars retrograde. It's going to go into Cancer, which is your 12th house, which I want to cover in January for you. Let's talk about this full moon. We have this full moon in Gemini with Mercury going direct. So first of all, Mercury has been retrograde in your 5th house. Trying to get things figured out, the sort of messy energy, maybe miscommunications, or just trying to figure out, reevaluating things having to do with creative projects, your creativity, your romantic relationships, things to do with children or your kiddos if you have children, pregnancy and childbirth. So, I'm not sure how those topics maybe might align for you necessarily. But, for example, this could be like, hey, I'm in this sort of burgeoning love relationship or this sexual relationship, and I'm kind of rethinking what we are, situationship, relationship, whatever, or things having to do with pleasure and recreation and fun. It's simply like we might have to be sort of reevaluating how or why we do those things. The full moon in Gemini in your 11th house is very tied into Mercury kind of going direct here. So you might get more information about those 5th house topics. This full moon in Gemini, it may really have a lot to do with your like social life, colleagues, your social network, friends, people in your professional networks and groups. There might be information. There might be a lot of like a flurry of activity. Or perhaps there's even some sort of opportunity that is sort of coming from this part of your chart. I'm wondering also with this full moon is square Neptune in your 8th house. There might just be some sort of lingering questions, confusing, vague energy wrapped up in 8th house money, loans, investments, other people's money, credit, inheritance. There might be some sort of confusing energy on what to do with that. So that kind of adds this layer of like, I don't know, to this full moon energy. Either way, Leo rising, I'm going to say when you can, try to prioritize some self-care and try not to do too much, because you have Mars retrograde in your sign right now. Virgo rising, we have the full moon landing in your 10th house of career. That really may be where the focal point is for you during this full moon. Maybe a flurry of activity. Maybe it feels very busy. Maybe you've just been thinking about it a lot. It's things having to do with career, with your public reputation, with how you sort of like with what you are known for. Also with authority figures can factor in here as well. There might be a lot maybe going on for you at home, or this sort of reevaluation, review, messy energy, because Mercury was retrograde in the 4th house of home and family. Kind of like the day Mercury stationed my mom, who's a Virgo rising, their oven broke. And I was like, that's very classic sort of Mercury sort of mishap. So there's maybe an emphasis or a focal point of home and family stuff. And that's going to start smoothing out now. That's going to start to sort of move in a forward direction if you've been kind of like feeling a little stuck or just like, what do we do here? So this full moon is just kind of really kind of drawing awareness to that 4th house, 10th house axis. So career at home and family. Again, this full moon is square Neptune, so there might be something about relationships or partnerships that you're sort of trying to figure out that has a sort of messy or vague energy around it, or that you might just be left kind of scratching your head a little bit. And again, that's okay. We're not going to get all the information that we need from this full moon. Mars is retrograde it's been retrograde since last week, since December 6th. It went retrograde in your 12th house. That's things having to do with isolation, rest, retreat, healing centers, hospitals, and also your like unconscious, subconscious thoughts. So it might be that you are maybe more pulled to working in the background on something. It might be that you are sort of being called to sort of get some rest and put your feet up altogether, as the 12th house can also be a sign, also be a house having to do with health as well. There's been actually a lot of intensity kind of going through your 12th and 6th houses, which have to do with health, because Pluto moved into your 6th house very recently. I forgot exactly when, but it was a couple weeks ago. So there's sort of been this ongoing kind of power dynamic sort of battle or intensity happening with your health sectors in your chart. And so Mars kind of going like retrograde here, I kind of wonder if it's forcing many of you to get some rest. Because I've known a couple Virgo risings that for some reason all got major surgery, like all around the same time. So Mars is going to move from your 12th house of hidden projects, of hidden things, of rest and retreat, and it's going to go into your 11th house of friends and groups and networks. So you may be kind of reviewing or hyper focusing on those topics when we get into January. So let's go ahead. I'm going to take a break for 1 second. I'm going to come right back. Okay, so let's talk about Libra rising now. So Libra rising, this full moon for you is landing in the 9th house. So there may be a little bit of clarity, a lot of information, a lot of the sort of busy sort of Gemini energy connected to maybe making plans like around like travel, and things connected to faraway places, things connected to expansion of your mind, of like learning new things, higher topics around like education or spirituality even. So that could be where the sort of full moon energy is landing for you. I'm going to say like there's this link between I cannot talk today. There's this link between your 9th and 3rd houses with this full moon energy, because Mercury has been retrograde in your 3rd house. So, maybe there's been some messy shit or this sort of reevaluation, but maybe just messy Mercury retrograde energy around cars, around your commute, around how you get around, your general daily routine. Maybe that's been a little bit in flux or kind of up in the air a little bit, or just a little bit, maybe there's been more interruptions than normal in this part of your life. Maybe it's stuff around like taking in information around correspondences, like the emails going missing or people like not getting the right information. It's been that it's been maybe that kind of energy for you. It might even be stuff with siblings can also factor in here as well. So the 9th house, this full moon in your 9th house, it might give you some sort of broader perspective on everything. It might kind of like the difference between like the 9th and the 3rd, like the 3rd is like our daily kind of routine information. 9th house is sort of like, what's the broader perspective? What's the bigger meaning? So it's about getting some perspective in this area of your life. And again, it might have some things literally to do with education, with travel, with publishing, with and with media as well. It can also factor in here. It also, for rarer cases or for maybe less of you, it might have to do with something with like a legal, like an ongoing legal thing or like legal decision. So Mercury is going to be going direct in your third house. So that kind of messy stuff, like I was talking about, like routine with transportation, with correspondences and information, and with siblings, that's going to start to get resolved. I will say, there is some maybe potentially still like some vague or confusing energy around this full moon still, maybe with health or with work stuff. Maybe we're waiting for some sort of health test or health result. Maybe that's a little inconclusive. Or maybe just work stuff feels a little bit vague right now and you're having a hard time kind of getting that figured out. Give that a few days. Just because, it's like we get some information during this full moon, but not everything. So when it comes to Mars retrograde, Mars is retrograde in your 11th house. Perhaps you're sort of like rethinking friends, like the people that you surround yourself with, the people that you are affiliated with. Things connected to colleagues, friends, allies, professional groups, and organizations in your social network. Mars is retrograde there, so that's sort of like that cosmic chill pill, kind of taking a step back kind of energy. Perhaps there has been some sort of weird social stuff with you, possibly just because there was this Mars Venus opposition kind of across your very sort of social houses. And also, this could also be about your goals, or your hopes and wishes and goals for the future. Maybe kind of relooking at the drawing board, relooking at like your manifestation board and your vision board is also possible here as well. When Mars, it's like you might be figuring out, like, this stuff might be connected to career later, I'm going to say. Like the people that you surround yourself, the things that you're wanting in your future, because Mars is going to go into Cancer in a month, and it's going to spend a lot of time. So that's going to mean it's going to spend a lot of time in your 10th house of career. So like rethinking, reviewing what exactly we're doing for career, things with bosses and authority figures, and kind of like maybe why we do things in our career. So that is kind of what's up for you with these full moon energies. Scorpio rising. Full moon landed in your 8th house. That's maybe, having to deal with something connected to finances, loans, credit, investments, major financial institutions, inheritances, taxes, just kind of all of that stuff. You've been maybe going through some like review or reevaluation with what's going on with your finances since Mercury went retrograde in your second house a couple of days before Thanksgiving. I think it was the 22nd of this of November. So it's like things in financial life are going to start to get straightened out now. You're going to have some more clarity when it comes to those things. And I will say, there is maybe some confusion or vague energy, maybe even some letdowns when it comes to love, when it comes to creative projects and, like recreation, things that bring you pleasure and joy. You're getting something worked out there. Like you're starting to get some clarity around it, or maybe there's been this ongoing, like, I'm not really sure how to balance all of this. So that's what we have going on. We also I forgot to mention Mars, your ruling planet, really important. Mars is your traditional ruling planet in astrology, and you really are going to maybe feel that slowdown in your career sector. Maybe not even slow down, just like wanting to approach things in a different way, taking a step back and looking at why you do the things that you do when it comes to career and your career goals, things with authority figures that might be changing. Mars is going to go into your 9th house, which is sort of like your vision for your life. It's your higher beliefs and ideals, things with travel and your faith, and kind of figuring out maybe what your sort of spiritual soul mission is, essentially, when Mars goes into that part of your chart in January. And that's going to give you more clarity in how to maybe approach career things. But right now, if you're feeling like, I don't really know, like I'm just going to slow down a little bit, or it's going to kind of, Mars retrograding and slowing down is ultimately going to give you the fuel that you need, but it's going to take some time. But I'm wondering if you're going to be feeling that slow down in career right now. Slow down doesn't mean bad. It's just going to mean that you're maybe approaching things differently and that you might just need a second to breathe. Sagittarius. I take a deep breath there for a second. Sagittarius. Mars is retrograde in your 9th house. And so for Sagittarius rising, Mars going retrograde in your 9th house means maybe kind of questioning your beliefs and ideals, questioning things or slowing down when it comes to your education, your spirituality, maybe like travel plans, if you're having to change like long distance sort of travel plans. And just really kind of taking a cosmic chill pill in that area of your life. Maybe going, I'm not really sure what I believe right now. I'm needing to kind of question that. Mars is going to be in your 9th house until January. When it gets about January 7th, it's going to go into your 8th house. So there's going to be some changes, reevaluation, taking stock of things involving finances, but it's going to be things like student loans, credit cards, inheritances, your money that's tied up with other people's money, like your assets and stuff that's tied in with like a partner. You're going to be kind of reevaluating a lot of that kind of stuff for the most part. When it comes to the full moon, you really have been feeling this Mercury retrograde energy like boots the house down. So, which is that's gay for everything essentially. So Mercury has been retrograde in your sign. So you really have been feeling this Mercury retrograde energy very personally. Maybe been feeling kind of messy communication mishaps, but really taking this sort of broad stock life reevaluation. Really kind of looking at the different parts of your life, taking it apart and figuring it out. And now things are going to start to go more in order. This is sort of your green light to be making those big decisions, to, make those purchases if you need to, and to kind of make these decisions in your life. I'd give Mercury a couple days to kind of get moving in the sky a little bit. And this full moon may actually give you some clarity, or you might reach a decision, or there's important information coming up in your relationships. So your romantic partnerships, your business partnerships, best friends, there's something that maybe there's some information you're going to be processing regarding that with this full moon energy. So it's really kind of hitting like a lot of these different sort of important life areas for you. I'm going to say this full moon, there might be some sort of lingering questions or vague energy surrounding home, residence, where you're living, and your family. So there might be something that comes up with like relationships and home for you, and like the home stuff. It's like you're going to be trying to figure that out. Capricorn rising. Let's see where I want to start with you. So Mars, that planet of action and passion, has been retrograde in your 8th house. Sorting things out relating to shared finances, loans, credits, debts, inheritances, getting stuff figured out with, shared finances with a partner, and that whole entanglement that happens with 8th house stuff. So you might be really focused on that right now. You might feel like I just need to like reevaluate this or take a step back for a second. And Mars is going to move into your 7th house of partnerships when we get to January. So it's sort of like the resources that are connected to other people, the resources that's connected in with our money and other people, and then our relationships themselves are going to be undergoing some changes, or you're going to be really kind of looking at like, am I satisfied with these partnerships and these partnership dynamics and the power dynamics that lie in these partnerships? So Mars is going to be in that financial part of your chart until about January 7th, and that'll move into Cancer, where you're going to be directly sort of dealing with relationship stuff, kind of rethinking those relationships, or taking a step back from, or just chilling out. But I'm going to say Capricorn, because you have a hard time chilling out. And Mars is your exaltation ruler. I don't know. That's a technical thing. I don't even know why I brought it up, but I would pay attention. If you're feeling the need to just chill out, do so. So this full moon, there might be some sort of information coming up, or busy energy, or important energy coming up for you around health, around physical body health matters, and also around work. So it could be, just maybe a lot happening at work, work routines, to-do lists, how you work, your coworkers, your bosses, things like that. It could also be stuff like just, again, maybe getting some important information in around health. Like, hey, I've been waiting for this like report to come in about like my blood levels, and it finally kind of comes in, Occasionally it's stuff around pets as well can come in with a full moon in the 6th house. Mercury has been retrograde in your 12th house. So, Sagittarius, this kind of said the Sagittarius season really maybe for you has felt like I need to kind of evaluate some stuff that's sort of under the surface. I'm sort of working on something in the background. Your Mercury retrograde has been maybe more like a hidden thing, or it's been maybe more like an internal kind of experience. Maybe you've been trying to spend more time, rest, retreat, isolation, kind of being by your lonesome with this Mercury retrograde, or perhaps it's like you're trying to, but you can't quite get there. It's something around that. I'm also just going to say important insights maybe have been coming in for you during this sort of alone kind of retreat and rest time. Now that Mercury is going direct, I would still, I feel like you're going to be getting information around like your own mental health, your own physical health with Mercury going direct now. So, let's look at Aquarius. Aquarius rising. Okay, where do we want to start with you? Let's actually start with the full moon. Okay, so first of all, Mercury has been retrograde in your 11th house. This is having everything to do with like friends, allies, social networks, um, like professional colleagues, people in your sort of professional networks, or maybe just like rethinking things connected to friends. It's like we're reviewing, rethinking, maybe connecting to friends from the past or connecting to sort of previous contacts. This could also be rethinking and reevaluating our hopes, wishes, and goals for the future, or maybe looking at our goals and changing them is also a part of this energy. So Mercury going direct is going to give you more clarity in that part of your life. This full moon, though, is happening in your 5th house. So maybe there's major activity connected to like a crush, someone that you are like romantically connected to. You could really have some information coming in relating to a creative project, your creative energy, your anything that's like recreational or fun. It's like there's some kind of energy coming in here where it's like we're getting information on it. There's an important conversation happening, maybe some clarity happening in this part of your chart. Maybe even something to do with children, pregnancy, childbirth. It could be children that are connected to you that you already have. It could be about making plans for children, something like that. But it's something connected to 5th house. To 5th house matters with this full moon. There might be something a little confusing or vague though around money. For example, if this full moon in the 5th house could be like, I'm going to do this fun thing, but it's going to cost money. I'm not exactly sure how to allocate those funds, right? Or it's something, or it's some confusion over like an expense connected to a child could also be part of this as well. So there's some connection between your 2nd house of money and 5th house of fun, romance, and children that is connected with this full moon. Mars is retrograde in an important house for you. So Mars has, it's in cosmic chill pill time. It's time to kind of think about things, take a step back. You can also feel particularly heated, I will say. And this is going to be in matters of partnerships and relationships. So romantic, business, one-on-one, partnerships, best friends, roommates, anyone that we're in one-on-one relationship in, as well as our contractual agreements. We could be rethinking why we're in these agreements in the first place. Do we need to look at these things? Why am I in relationship with this person? These sort of themes could be coming up for you right now. Mars will slide into Cancer, your 6th house of health and work, in January. So I think, that Mars kind of focus energy is going to take a turn. It's going to be more about like health things, why it is that you do things at work, dealing with, with to-do lists and how you sort of get things done in your life is sort of what that theme is going to be about. But we'll talk more about that in January. Pisces rising. So first of all, Mars, the planet of action, motivation, and passion, is retrograde in your 6th house. Perhaps you are really thinking, I need to take care of my health differently. I need to introduce some sort of new routines or change my routine, or perhaps I'm sick of just what I'm doing at the gym, or I'm sick of what I'm eating. Like I need to figure something out, but I don't want to right now. I'm tired. That's also part of it. And really a sign for you to get some rest. I'm going to say don't push yourself too much with Mars retrograde right now. And really listen to if you have inflammation in your physical body. Where that might be coming from and really kind of paying attention to it. It could be a little bit louder with Mars retrograde. It's going to go retrograde into Cancer later on in January. Think about January 7th. It's going to go into Cancer. So that means you're going to be reevaluating passion projects, your creativity, your love relationships, connections with children. You're going to be kind of rethinking those. We'll talk more about that in January. As far as this full moon energy, there's something going on with home and career for you. So first of all, Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, has been retrograde in your 10th house of career since a couple days before Thanksgiving. I think it was the 22nd. So perhaps there's been some messy energy there. Just kind of getting things figured out, again, maybe miscommunication mishaps, or just trying to get some clarity, reviewing and rethinking things connected to career. Maybe there's been some changes with authority figures and bosses, or maybe even just how you present yourself to the world, like your public reputation. There's also been some interplay with home because this full moon is happening in your home and family sector. So perhaps you're arriving to some sort of conclusion. There's some sort of important piece of information coming through regarding your family, regarding parents, or regarding home and kind of where you're living. Maybe there's just a lot of busy energy around this that you're having to take care of. I'm going to say maybe you're a little unsure about something right now, or perhaps that you just feel like this sort of vague sense of uncertainty as well, because this full moon is square Neptune in your first house of self and identity. So it's like there's some, maybe decisions happening in home life, in career, or some energy happening there. And I just feel like maybe you're not sure about it, or you need more information. And if that's the case, take all of the time that you need. It's like there's a lot of information coming in, but you're like maybe not sure exactly where it lands. So I'll say with this full moon, take a breath and don't feel like you have to make any kind of sudden decisions or sudden movements. So, and also with this full moon, Mercury is going direct. So you're going to maybe get some clarity on kind of where you're going in career, or work, or whatever it is. There is this sort of clarity that's going to start to slowly kind of come in, and things are going to slowly kind of get back to normal as far as that goes. As far as Mercury's particular condition goes. So that is all for this video. And I hope you enjoy this information. Again, if you're wanting to book a session, my December is almost full already. So those gift certificates are on sale until the end of the month. And so if you want like a discount for a future session, so I check that out either email me, DM me on Instagram for that. And again, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure that you like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know how this full moon is going for you. And until next time, I will see you all soon. I hope you have a good full moon and a good Mercury direct energy. I think we could all need that. Remember to take that cosmic chill pill with Mars going retrograde. All right. Thanks all.